In this session we're going to look at core competencies. Now, core competencies are those capabilities that are critical to a business achieving competitive advantage. In a sense, the core competencies may be seen as those activities. It could be production activities or it could be service delivery activities. But those activities which the company enjoys an advantage. It is more capable than the competitors at delivering the products because it has an advantage in certain areas. The areas could be in production, in delivery, in design. It can be in any aspect of the business. But the core competency means it has a special advantage. It has an ability to deliver the product cheaply, of good quality, good design, and meets the customer's requirements. The competitive process itself may be seen as a race for competency rather than market power. Competency is what enables the firm to compete effectively. Competency in certain areas gives the firm or the business an advantage. It's the ability to produce the product, deliver the product more efficiently, and to more closely meet the customer's requirements. So market power flows from competency mastery. Market power and the ability to outcompete the competitors, that flows from the company's competency. Management cannot focus on all the activities of the business. It's very difficult for management to micromanage the business. So it doesn't focus on everything. It focuses almost by definition on some. The word focus suggests that it just looks at some activities. And it must be selective and focus attention on competencies that really affect competitive advantage. So the business may have many areas of competency, but some of them are more important than others. The competencies that affect the performance in the marketplace, these are essential. The competencies that affect the product, its design, its delivery, and its perception in the market, these competencies are central. A competency in the use of the office printer, well, that's not that essential. So management will focus in on the competencies that give it the advantage in the marketplace. The literature on core competencies was developed by Prahalad and Hamill. And they developed the idea that companies may develop key areas of expertise. These are unique to the company and also critical to the company's long-term growth. So companies over a period of time, according to Prahalad and Hamill, companies over a long period of time develop an expertise, a competency in a certain area. And if that area is crucial for the delivery and the effective marketing of the product, then the company has got a key core competency. And that means the long-term growth and viability of the business is related to core competencies. This is an essential aspect of consideration in looking at any business. The company, as I said earlier, may develop an expertise in any area, but generally are developed in the critical central areas of the company where the most value is added to the products. So having an expertise in warehousing is good, but it's maybe not essential. What's essential is having an expertise to innovate the product, the design expertise, the design ability to innovate the product, deliver the product to the customer in good time, and that meets the customer's needs so that the customer is happy with the product. That is a key core competency. The warehouse is important. It's very important, but it may not be critical. So it's developing core competencies that are essential. It's what gives the business its long-term growth and its viability and its competitiveness in the market. So let's look at some examples of the development of core competencies. A manufacturer of garden equipment, for example, may focus on the development of energy-saving electronic gardening aids. So perhaps a traditional garden tool manufacturer may diversify and look at electric lawnmowers and electric hedge trimmers and so on. So it's developed its product range. It's stretched its product range. It can do this, of course, because perhaps it's got a good brand name in the gardening sector. It could also be the case that a general film production company may develop an expertise in the production of advertising video techniques. So perhaps the business was to make documentaries for television, but since they've got the cameras and they've got the expertise and they've got the people in situ, why not diversify into advertising techniques also? So the core competencies, the ability of the business to do a particular task and deliver a particular product, that core competency helps the business to generate other products and develop an expertise in those other areas as well. So advertising, video advertising and film production are related. The skills overlap. It's a bit like Venn diagrams. There are two of them and they overlap. The core competencies are not fixed for all time. They change in response to changes in the company's environment. So core competencies have to be monitored. They have to be checked and they have to be updated. There has to be a policy commitment by the management to ensure that the core competencies, whatever they are maintained and strengthened over time. And they must also be flexible and evolve over time. They must be developed, nurtured. Their importance can't be overstated. They are absolutely important, because this is what gives the business its competitive advantage. But they must be flexible over time. They must change with changing conditions in the marketplace, with changing technology. They must evolve. They provide essential access to a wide variety of markets. The key core competencies here are those that enable the creation of new products and services. So having some core competencies in a certain area, those may be used perhaps to develop a new line of production, a new product in effect. And the essential features of the core competencies overlap. For the new product and the existing product, those core competencies overlap. they're in position at the moment. The company has got them, let's say. So why not use them for a second line of production? And that was the example I mentioned earlier with, let's say, video production and film production. So they could be used that way. But also we have the example of Apple, who have built a strong leadership in the mobile computing market. The core competencies that have enabled Apple to develop this position include the following. It includes an active research and development program. So Apple was able to move from computers into mobile phones, into tablets, and this was drawn out of its active research and development program. It had a very strong commitment to innovation, or it has a very strong commitment to innovation. It still has. So it sees the products as related and is looking for linkages between the products. So it's got core competencies in research and development and in microcomputing technologies. So why not see if it can be spread over into communications and telephony and develop a whole range of products which are linked, which are networked. And that was its interest in innovation. It has good market research, it has good feedback. It just doesn't do this. It has good market research. It asks the customers what do they want, and it responds to the needs of the customers. It listens. So it has good market research. And it is very much focused on the customer. So the customer's requirements is what drives the whole Apple initiative. Core companies make a significant contribution to the perceived customer benefits of the end product. Core competencies are the skills that enable a business to deliver a fundamental customer benefit. This causes one product to be chosen over another. So it's core competencies that enable a business to deliver the fundamental customer benefit. The fundamental customer benefit is what is required, because that's what the customer is looking for, and that's what the customer will buy. That means the future of the business is caught up with core competencies. It's what they are able to do best, and that's what enables the business to survive and grow. It helps to explain why customer willingness to pay more or less for one product or service compared to another. So why is it people will pay a premium for an iPhone over some other phone? Why are telephones differently priced? Perhaps there are different perceptions of the core competencies. Who makes the more reliable phone? What functionality does the phone have? And how easy is it to use? The central issue is identifying what the customer wants. That's the essential issue. Having core competencies to make products that nobody wants doesn't make sense. Having a talent and an expertise to make items that do not sell is a waste of time. So the central issue is identifying what the customer wants. That's most important. Now, core competencies make a significant contribution to the perceived consumer benefits of the end product. That's where we've had this discussion so far. Now, an example would be Amazon, who developed a dominance in online retailing over the early years of the century, of the present century, obviously. The core competencies that led to this may include trust in the payments method. So the customer has to have trust in the payment method. And Amazon was able to harness the technology and to develop an ability to efficiently enable, efficiently I should say, and securely enable the customers to pay. And that was most important. They also have efficient dispatch, so they developed an expertise in efficient dispatch. Good customer relations management. If the transaction goes wrong for whatever reason, it's not delivered on time or it's not delivered at all or whatever, the customer relations management team have an expertise in handling this situation. When customers phone up and say they have a problem, the team in Amazon don't act surprised and say it never happened before. It happens a lot. But they have an expertise in handling it, so the customers are reassured. They've also made it easy to shop online. The computer interface is easy to handle. And there's an easy and efficient returns procedure. The disadvantage of shopping online is the customer can't see the product, can't touch the product before purchase. So after purchase, they may not be happy about the product and they wish to return it. Well, Amazon have procedures to enable them to do this. So these are the core competencies that have been developed by Amazon. And that's what makes Amazon a very important company, a very powerful company in this sector. Well, in fact, in the retailing sector in total. The core competency should be difficult for competitors to imitate. It should be difficult. It should act as a barrier to entry. Competitors should not find it easy to copy the core competencies of the business. The core competency should be competitively unique. Now, skills may be classified either as generic or specialized. So a generic skill in industry may be the ability of the workers to be able to read and write. It's a generic skill. But a skill to use, let's say, computing technology for design purposes and use specialized software, now that's a very specialized activity. Or it could be specialized in a production sense, that certain people within the production area are highly skilled at doing what they do because they have an expertise in the use of machinery or in doing whatever the task requires. Most skills are generic, I should say. The ability to read and write, the ability to walk and talk, the ability to do basic mathematics. These are generic skills. Most people can do them. However, core competencies are based on unique or specialized skills. These are over and above the generic skills. These specialized skills is what generates the core competency. It is specialized skills that leads to differentiation. So these are special skills which perhaps have been developed over a long period of time. People working in the business have become skilled through learning by doing. They've become skilled by making mistakes in the past and learning from the mistakes. Or Perhaps they just have an innate talent to do something better than other people. But this is what generates the core competency. For example, Microsoft has occupied a dominant position in the business and home computing markets since the development of modern IT technology. Microsoft is one of the big players in this market, and it's been around right since the start. Now, its core competency rests in its technical innovation over the years, and this was difficult to imitate. Microsoft developed Microsoft Office. It developed different types of operating system, and the operating system developed as computing power developed as well. And it was difficult for competitors to get in on the market because Microsoft made such a good product. The competitors were unable to match it. So they had technical innovation. Microsoft had technical innovation. They had a team of workers who were obviously committed to innovation, were enthusiastic, and developed the product. And they evolved over time. Even the products themselves evolved over time. They had updates on the products. You download the operating system or put it on in the past from a disk, and then there were updates that could be purchased or delivered online. And generally speaking, they were delivered online. Once the product has been purchased, the updates came free. There were fixes and updates, and the product evolved until the next operating system was brought out. Microsoft had good distribution channels. The internet was a good distribution channel for updates when it was properly developed. And before that, it was able to deliver the product on a disk. It was high value product delivered on a cheap disk. Now, distinguish between a competency or a competence which is central to the business's operation, which is not exceptional in some way. It must be exceptional to be considered as a core competence. This is what differentiates the business from its rivals. So, a core competency is exceptional. It's a skill or an expertise that the business possesses that the competitors do not possess, and which therefore gives it competitive advantage. For example, a process which uses some basic engineering components and which does not require much skill to do should not be regarded as a core competence. If it's a basic engineering task, bending metal or welding metal together, this is more generic. In the engineering trade, in that sector, these sort of skills are generic. Many people can do them, so there's nothing unique about it. There's nothing specialized about it. So therefore it will not give the business a competitive advantage. It doesn't differentiate the business away from the rivals. The rivals can do it. So there is no core competence based on that. The conclusion is that standardized resources will not yield core competence that will generate competitive advantage over rivals. So standardized resources don't yield core competencies. Standardized resources yield standardized products. generally speaking. So a core competency must be specialized. It must have a uniqueness about it, and it must be reflected in the product for the business. So it must be something which is incorporated into the product and that competitors find difficult, if not impossible, to imitate. And that's what we mean by core competencies. And that's all I want to do on this topic, so I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.